Okay, folks, I think we'll kick it off from here. So thank you very much for joining today. And firstly, hopefully you can see my screen. You should see a slide there with a Bluewave and a FinDock logo on it. So we'll just kick off with a few introductions from around the table, followed by a lead into our demonstration. We'll have two main demonstrations. One's around Salesforce platform and its architecture for membership, how we're also using data cloud to surface data in there from external systems. And then with our partners at FinDock, we'll look at payment management within Salesforce for membership. So followed by some questions and answers, hopefully. So my own name is Finian Quinn. I lead the membership solutions team in Bluewave. With the company 10 years. I'm working on the Salesforce platform in general since about 2009. I'll hand over to Dan to say hi. Dan, do you want to say hi?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Dan Trevethan. I am the Regional Director for the UK and Ireland here at FinDock. I'm your first point of contact at FinDock. So yeah, hope to speak to you, some of you soon.
Thanks, Dan. Peter.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter. I'm Senior Solution Engineer at FinDock. I'm helping Daniel out with anything that is related to the product when it comes to presentations and demonstrations.
Thanks, Peter. Cosmin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Cosmin, and I'm the Marketing Cloud Technical Lead from Bluewave, and I work primarily with Marketing Cloud engagement and Data Cloud as well.
Thanks, Cosmin. And last but not least, Craig.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Coe.
Thanks, Craig. Just a quick touch on our membership solutions in Bluewave. So we deal with a lot of membership organizations and have done for a number of years. We have pulled together our membership offering. Really underlining common themes we see across membership organizations. Payment systems and payment management is key to obviously the lifeblood of the organization, whether that's taking in subscription payments for members or indeed potentially donations and payments for various other requirements, whether it's through magazines, etc. Event management comes up again and again, of course. So within Salesforce, we have apps that can be used for event management. Scheduling systems for meetings and conferences, etc. Always other platforms, back-end platforms, whether they're learning management systems, finance systems, portals, etc. Tend to need to be integrated into Salesforce. We can, of course, build portals through Experience Cloud in Salesforce. Very often there might be some education requirements, whether they're courses, etc., CPD tracking. So really just our offering from that. Bluewave don't charge for our membership package. Really it's based on our experience around a standard architecture that we start with and grow from there with you. So no ongoing cost other than your Salesforce license costs, and then perhaps FinDock if you're using FinDock, or Blackthorn Events if you're using Blackthorn Events, etc. So just to make that point clear from a Bluewave perspective, Bluewave essentially is full stack partner for Salesforce. For anything you may need across the platform, we can support you on beyond your membership architecture. We can support you across all of the Salesforce clouds. Dan, would you like to make a quick couple of comments on FinDock for membership organizations?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just stay on this slide, Finian. So yeah, here at FinDock, we help companies bring payments onto Salesforce, and with the membership organizations, we help with those membership fees, but also with centralizing membership management. So whether that's recurring card payments or direct debits, with all our membership organizations, we try and help them get to that 360 view of their customer. That includes the recurring payments or one-off payments or adjustments, whether that's over the phone or through a member portal, for example. And this allows our customers to keep on top of failed payments, for example, and support their members in a thoughtful manner. We work with companies in multiple industries. If you want to skip to the next slide, Finian. Yeah, we work with companies in multiple industries. There's some of which I think you'll recognize. If you just want to skip one more. That'd be good. And I think, you know, with these organizations, what we do is, as I said, focus on bringing payments off platform onto Salesforce and supporting their customer journey.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And from a Bluewave perspective, we've worked with FinDock with a number of customers, and delighted with the support that we get from FinDock as our customers. So highly recommend them from that perspective. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover in the demonstration. We have built up a architecture that we'll lean on today. So we're using Service Cloud licensing in Salesforce along with the FinDock app to manage our core membership architecture. We've also built in AWS, actually S3 buckets, some proxies for, let's say, a legacy donation platform that a membership organization was using, where we want to be able to show some historic payments, etc., in Salesforce without having to do a full migration and integration. And again, just as from an education standpoint, perhaps you got a learning management system where you have a list of courses where that members may have undertaken or are undertaking. Again, without the need for full integration, we're going to just look at how we can surface that data in Salesforce so you can get your internal users in your organization to see all the data around a particular member. So that's the setup for today, and we'll be building around that. Also then, just what we'll touch on, Salesforce membership architecture overview. I'll be handing over to Craig in a moment to have a look at that, how we look at that membership 360 view, including Data Cloud. Have a look at the membership record and what we can hold on there. Membership affiliations, quite often members are affiliated to, I don't know, different areas, different regions, even different companies, perhaps within the union world, where you might have members in particular companies that need to be managed in that way as well. Cosmin's going to take you through Data Cloud and how that's structured, and then how and what we see from Data Cloud and Salesforce. Finally, at that point, then we'll hand over to Dan and Peter then to take you through some of the FinDock piece. So without any further ado, Craig, I'll hand over to you maybe to kick off in Salesforce.
Thank you very much for the handover, Finian. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for making the time this morning so we can deliver this demonstration for you. So what I would like to demonstrate for you this morning is how the Salesforce platform architecture can be leveraged to support various different membership organizations. The benefit with Salesforce is you are introduced to the industry standard of a single view of the customer, or the customer 360 view, which allows you to be able to have a single place where you can look at your members, your audience, and start to understand all of the data that connects them together, how that information is available to access across different areas of your organization, and how all of that information links together. In order to demonstrate that in true Blue Peter fashion, I have some members which I have prepared earlier, who I will take you on a slight journey with, and we will start to see how that information connects across. So the first person I would like to introduce you to is Carly. So Carly is a member. She's quite recently joined with us. She joined, as we can see here on our contact page, she joined on the 1st of January this year. We can see her personal information, which household she belongs to, which internal user is responsible for her membership information, and her contact information, so email, phone number, etc. Also on the page, we're recording her current membership number and her current membership status. Is within the system, we can automatically bring information across multiple different sources and display it in a way which makes sense to your organization. We have her address information, and if we scroll down, we can start to see other information that we've started to gather across the platform. We have some calculated insights, which Cosmin will cover later on, but I'll just kind of highlight them now. And we also then start to leverage some of the standard tools available within the Salesforce platform, such as duplicate management. Thankfully, Carly is one of a kind in this situation, and we have found no duplicates for her. Underneath Carly, now we start to see the information that's also held in Salesforce that's related to her personal record. The primarily one for this example would be her membership. From her contact record, we can click straight through to her membership details. We can see what type of membership that she has. When is the membership valid from? If it's an expired membership, we can see when it is valid to. We have various different membership statuses, so we can see as to whether something is current, lapsed, expired, revoked, etc. All of these items are customizable to your requirements according to your organization, and you are not beholden to any specific area that you would need to look at. Related to Carly's membership, we have her payment schedule. So we can see that Carly, and we click through, she is paying on a monthly direct debit. Her payment dates are captured, when the next payment date was, when the last payment date was. We can see which membership it's related to, how much it's worth, how much has been paid so far, how much is remaining, and we can also see how much is in arrears. Underneath our payment schedule object, we have the detail of our payment installments. So Salesforce has automatically calculated and determined for this membership, if this user is paying monthly, there will be 12 equal payments, and we can see the detail of all of the payments laid out in the system. This is where the payment platform FinDock comes in and manages the payments of the required dues for the particular membership. If we have a quick look at the list of installments, we can see that everything's been paid hunky-dory, all the way up to last month, when we can see that there was a payment due in October and it is still outstanding, and we can see that this has now gone into arrears. So this allows us to have a single place where we can look at an individual, at their membership, and see, yes, they have money outstanding. So rather than have to do any manual calculations to determine how much money needs to be paid, the system will automatically provide that information for us. So,
Craig, just two quick questions or observations there so far. You've separated out, or we're showing a membership record separate from the contact record in Salesforce. So that's to allow a lot of flexibility, I suppose, in terms of maybe multiple memberships, membership types, etc. And also then, there's different ways different membership organizations handle those payments and those arrears, etc. So how do we handle that for each organization in terms of, let's say, the logic we need to implement in the platform to manage how those arrears are handled?
Yep. So the benefit with using the Salesforce platform is the structure of your memberships can be built according to your own requirements. If you have multiple levels of memberships, etc., which you need to be able to manage, you can do that without any issue. You can structure the architecture in such a way that it allows you to have that level of segmentation in scenarios where there may be multiple memberships active for an individual. Perhaps if you're some form of umbrella organization with different affiliations, you can manage those on an individual basis. You can also, keeping memberships as a separate record alongside the personal information for your member allows you to maintain an accurate history of when somebody joined, when they left, when did they rejoin, what were the different payment methods they were using, what were the different payments that were taken, how much monies were in arrears when they previously expired their membership, and allows you to gather all of that separate information in the way that supports your business use case.
That's great.
No problem. Now, I'm now going to move on to Katie, who is my second example, who is very helpful once more. So Katie is a slightly more established member. We can see, again, it's a very similar situation. We have her personal information, links to her household, her membership number. And if we scroll down, we can see, so Katie was previously a member with our organization. We can see, if we scroll up, that she first joined the organization in February 1977, and that membership itself was active, and we can see here, up until June 2013, when she left our organization. Thankfully, she was very happy to return, and we can see from her contact record, there is a second membership record, which we have here, which is the current one, which is she joined up in July 2022, and she's now a member with us once more. If we click into her membership, we can actually now see the history of this continuing membership since she rejoined in July 2022. We can see the record of the opportunities that we used to, the revenue amount that she will be paying per membership type. We can see that Katie is a standard member. And we can see where the prices have changed as she's gone through. In 2022 and 2023, the memberships were £120. In 2024, the membership went up to £175. From her payment schedule, if we click through, for the current membership year, for example, we can see that she's paid £40 and she's got £135 remaining, and all of her payment calculation and instalments have been updated. The biggest benefit that Salesforce can offer to any organization when it comes to managing your memberships and your members is you can leverage the Salesforce automation tools available on the platform to simplify and automate many of the tasks which you may well carry out on a manual basis at the moment, to assist with payment reconciliations, updates to memberships, calculations of arrears, and other such cases. I thankfully have prepared a demonstration. So for Katie, we can see that she has, underneath we have a case, which is leveraging the Salesforce case management feature. She has contacted our organization to tell us that she is unhappy with the type of membership that she has. She phoned us and she's advising that she's been given the wrong membership type and she's been overpaying. In this instance, Katie has a standard membership, but she went back into education and now would like to swap to a student membership. We think that's absolutely fine. That's a query from Katie. So we can now start to leverage the Salesforce tools to support us with that change. If we have Katie's contact record, which is essentially the home of where you would go to access all the information related to Katie on the platform, we can go into her membership, and we have at the top an option to change membership type. So if we see, just draw your attention, we have for the current year schedule as £40 paid and £135 remaining for a standard membership. When I click change membership type, I get the option to choose whether I go to youth or to student. In this instance, we're going to pick student. It will tell us what the new membership type is and advise that all of the payments will be recalculated. When I confirm the update, it says it's been updated as requested, and we can now see that the payments owing have been updated. We now have a student membership type, and when we click into our schedule, the instalments have now been updated from £15 down to £5, and we can see everything for the future has been automatically updated. So now there's no need to have to go through a manual reconciliation. The payment system will pick up the new values and start to process them according to the membership type that Katie now has.
Very good. Quick question there on that. Obviously, the logic you've employed to implement that will vary across organizations, but our knowledge of the membership world, all we really need to make that happen is that payment logic, right? And I think here you've used Salesforce Flow for anybody that's familiar with Salesforce to handle that logic and to make those updates for you using screen flows, so it can be built into the platform in that easy to use flow.
I have indeed. So I leveraged Salesforce Flows, as Finian said, which is the point and click declarative tool that's available on the platform. And the automation tools on the platform allow you to build according to whatever your business logic is. So I've just used an example of how a membership change might impact payments, etc., things like that. The benefit that Salesforce brings is it gives you the tools to bring your own business logic into the implementation so it can support your business in the way that it needs to. There's no restriction of it has to be one way or the other. The level of flexibility is there to support you as needed according to your own business requirements.
And then from this point, really, we'd be handing to FinDock to handle then the calling for those payments, whether that's on a recurring direct debit or indeed recurring card payments, etc., which Peter will get into in a while. So just to make the point, that's kind of your crossover point to where FinDock steps in and starts orchestrating the payments.
So yes, so Salesforce will do the logic to determine how much is due to be paid, when it should be paid, etc. And then it would essentially hand over to FinDock to do the payment runs, request the batches from the banks, the process the credit card payments, and whichever method has been set up according to your own configuration. So what I will happily do now is we have our membership. We can see an example of the data where it is all connected across. There are some items on the page which obviously I haven't referenced to do with calculated insights, etc., which I will be able to hand over to my colleague Cosmin, who will be able to give you an example of how other information can be brought in.
Hello everyone, thanks Craig for that. So I'd like to introduce you to Data Cloud now, and Data Cloud is a tool that helps businesses to bring across data from different sources together, and it will create a complete view of each customer, making it easier for segmentation and for activation.
Sorry, I should have prefaced for you there again, just touching on that architecture we looked at the start, that our a dummy setup here really is a learning management system separate from Salesforce with a list of courses in it, right, that we want to show to our internal users in our membership organization, and also historic payments or donation payments that are actually made on a separate platform where as we centralize on Salesforce and potentially use FinDock for all our payments as an interim step, we just want to show those payments in Salesforce. So just to make that comment, sorry for interrupting you.
Right, so sorry about that. I was actually talking through the data streams. The data streams are essentially the area where we can bring in data into Data Cloud from external sources. In our case, we are ingesting data from an Amazon S3 bucket. So we have 4 data streams here that are already ingested, successfully ingested into Data Cloud. We have the donation contact, the course contact, and then we have the relevant engagement data for each of these contacts. So we have a course engagement where you can see data about the courses that they have enrolled to. If they pass, we can see the grade, we can see the status of that course, and we can also see the payment that they made. And also we have the donation engagement, and here we have donor engagement data. Essentially, we can look at their historical donations. We can see the amount they've donated, the type of donation, whether it's a one-off, regular, and the payment method for that donation. So once we bring in all these data points into a Data Cloud, then we have to model the data. So we will map those data streams to the data model in Salesforce Data Cloud, and then that will allow us to create segments that will allow us to create calculated insights, which are derived insights from the data that is available. And most importantly here, before we can create all these insights, before we can segment the data, we have the identity resolution. And the identity resolution is the process of matching and merging customer data from multiple sources, and then we can resolve those multiple data sources into one unified individual. So I'm going to show you a little bit now. I'm going to go through the data lake objects, and I can show you the data that is ingested into Data Cloud from the Amazon S3 bucket, and then we can look into Salesforce and we can see how we can transpose then that data into Salesforce Service Cloud without the need to physically bring that data into Salesforce object. So here we have the course engagement object, for example. So I can quickly show you the fields that are on that object: the course ID, the course name, the course price, the enrollment date, and enrollment ID, grade. And then we can actually have a quick look at the data and see exactly how it looks like. So I'm going to go to the Data Explorer. I'm going to select my course engagement object, and then we can have a quick look at that. Right. So we've got the fields that are in there, the course category, essential insights, the course name, the course price. And you can see the data source here. So as I mentioned, this comes straight from an S3 bucket. We can also have a quick look at the donation engagement as well. So here, there we go. We have information about the donation. Again, this comes from an S3 bucket as the data source. We have a donation ID, which is the unique identifier for this data. Then you've got the amount they've donated and the donation type. And then once as I mentioned, once the data is in Salesforce where everything is mapped, then we can proceed and with our identity resolution. In our case, since the data is coming from 3 sources, so we have like 2 sources in AWS plus the contact in Salesforce. In this instance, we are matching on we're matching on the normalized email address and the exact birth date and the fuzzy first name. And here on the right-hand side in this pane, we can see the total unified profiles. So we have around 50,000 unified profiles from 3 data sources and a consolidation rate of 41%, which is pretty high. And now I'm going to move into Salesforce and I can show you how this data looks in there. So Craig mentioned the calculated insights at the beginning. So I'm going to go back in here and then I'm going to show you a different donor this type. So I'm going to introduce you to Ian Simpson. So here in this individual component, you can see the records that are stored in the individual record into Data Cloud. So we mapped all these identities, we mapped them to the individual components, and we can see here we have 3 instances of Ian, one coming from the course ID, one from the donation ID, and one from the contact ID. We can see that they're sharing the same name, they're sharing the last name, and also sharing the date of birth. And here under we have the unified contact point email. So that identity was resolved to one unified contact, and we have its email address in here. Then
just a quick question on that, Cosmin. You're showing those components in this instance really more for information purposes for your standard user in Salesforce, internal user. You don't necessarily have to show that info. That can be sitting in the background and working anyway.
Exactly.
But perhaps depending on the type of user that's looking at the screen, we could show that if they're an admin, for example, but for a standard user, then we wouldn't have to show that component. So we have some choice around what we show and what we don't show on that page.
Yeah, exactly. So we're showing this component here, so just for the demonstration purposes, so we can see that we have 3 identities in here that are resolved into one. You know, a customer service experience user wouldn't necessarily need to have access to that level of information, but what would be good to have access to are the calculated insights that we can see in here. So we can see that Ian has 2 completed courses, and also we can see the sum of his donations. And below that we can see the number of donations. So to demonstrate that the information is actually accurate, we can go back and look at the Data Explorer, and using his member number, we can look into the data, we can look into those data lakes again, and then we can cross-reference with the information that we have on the screen here. So I'm going to copy the member number from here quickly, and I'm going to go back into the Data Explorer and just bear with me a second. There we go. So we've got the course engagement that we want to look at. And I need to, how do I close this here? There we go. Right. So I can edit the columns that I can see in here. So I'm interested into the member number. I want to see the partition date, for example, of the source. I want to see the member number, and here, that's the one, the custom one. Right, and now I can quickly look at that record. So this is the member number that I copied from Ian's account. There we go. So I've got a couple of completed courses in here, exactly as it was showed on the page in Salesforce, and we can also look at the donations. So I need to check if Ian has actually made 5 donations, and the total amount of those donations is around £9,000. So we're going to have a quick look at that as well. I'm going to remove a couple of columns from here that we don't need, and I'm going to bring in the member column. And I'm going to add the filter quickly. Right. So let's see. There we go. So we have 4 donations here for Ian, and we can tell that the sum roughly total is around £9,000 as it was shown in here. So 9,382, and they had 4 donations in total for this record.
Cosmin, just a quick question on that as well. So I think the beauty of the calculated insights is that none of this is actually sitting in Salesforce, right? So in theory, you've got two separate sources of data. One is your donations and the other one are your courses. So in Data Cloud, in theory, for example, you could actually total the sum of donations and total how much they've spent on a course, for example. Not necessarily that you would add those up in Data Cloud and show that down in Salesforce. So really, you can do all of that work without having any of this data sitting in Salesforce.
Correct. Yes, that's absolutely right. So we're bringing in the data from external sources and we're showing in the information from those external sources into Data Cloud. And yeah, we can actually show the lifetime value for the courses as well, because we can perform a calculated insight on the number of on the amount of that they spend by enrolling to our courses as well. And the last bit that I would like to show you here in Data Cloud, so I'm going to move back into Data Cloud, we can actually create segments. So the beauty of this is that once we have the data ingested, once we have the identity resolved to a unified profile, we can perform segmentations, and we can use the data to activate it. We can activate in Marketing Cloud, for example. We can send them on an email journey, or you can activate them to external platforms. If you want to target them with Facebook ads, for example, or Google Ads, etc., you can send those segments to your activation target. So I'm going to quickly show you how we can create a segment without the use of SQL, as you typically create segments, using a query language. Here we can use a drag and drop editor, which is very easy to use. So I'm going to demonstrate that quickly, and then I'm going to hand back over to Finian. So I'm going to create a standard segment in here, and I'm going to segment on the unified individual, and I'm going to call this like donation demo. And what I'm going to show you is how easily I can create a segment and bring in donors that have donated, let's say, over £1,000. So we can say that donation is greater and equal than £1,000. And I want those donors, I want the donation type to be regular. Equal to regular. There we go. So that's it. So this is my segment population. The total now is 49,000. I'm going to save this, and we're going to see the recount, see how many donors fall into that population. So there we go. We have 17,000 members where the amount is over £1,000 and the donation type is regular. So now that I have the segment, as I mentioned, I can activate it. I can send it straight to the Marketing Cloud for an email journey, or I can activate it on external platforms such as Meta, Google Ads, etc. So that was me. I'm going to hand back over to Finian.
Thanks, Cosmin. One last question. Those individual records of donations, those individuals of the courses that a person has, or a member has taken that are sitting on those platforms, we can show those each individual records actually in Salesforce too, right? Without the data actually sitting in Salesforce. So we can show them in a Salesforce related list, for example.
Yes, exactly. So since we have access to those, calculated insights in there, then we can also show the records of the donations as a related list with the information that is available, such as the amount, the donation date, etc. So everything can be showed in Salesforce without needing to store the data into Salesforce.
Thanks, Cosmin. Dan, better hand over to you just to maybe lead into Peter's demonstration on the payment side.
Thanks again, Finian. Yeah, I think I just want to double down on that idea of the Salesforce platform and the power of that. And what we found here at FinDock is kind of these three areas of sales, marketing, and service covered what a lot of companies were hoping to bring into a singular platform. And that platform was then, as we saw it, missing a number of key elements, and in particular around payments. And for member firms, it was really the opportunity to look at those payments, to look at those recurring membership fees, to look at that billing, all the upsell opportunities that were within that, but also to get the visibility into their members. Of course, that wasn't, or didn't stop the desire for membership organizations to try and get that. And what a lot of organizations have ended up doing is building a kind of really complex, difficult to navigate internal solution, which touches on a number of payment methods. So whether that's Bax, PayPal or whatever, but getting that into that single platform has proved challenging. And of course, companies traditionally have tried to build that and found it really difficult to try and bring all of that under one roof, and that can often be expensive, or as I say, difficult to manage. And so really at the birth of FinDock, what we've tried to do is try to do something different. And what we've done is we've taken all of those various sources of payments, of membership fees, of recurring member payments, and brought them all using our solution onto that platform. And touching on some of the clouds that the team at Bluewave have touched on, we bring that into any one of those onto that singular platform to allow our customers and our membership companies to really benefit from having that data. And so I'll hand over to Peter now, who's going to run into what that actually looks like in anger.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you very much for being here and having a look at the whole membership journey. I'm going to be focusing on the payment side of things. So today I will embody a FinOps employee of a membership organization who is essentially doing their morning checks around all of the payments. And the way that we do that is by having this one consolidated dashboard that brings all of that payments data together. In this case, the operational payments data. Meaning we can take a look at things like our Bax payment schedules. And in this case, payment schedules refers to the direct debit runs that we need to do. And we can see that one of them actually has a pending verification status. So I can click on that, open up that record, and we can see that we actually already generated the file. The file is right here. We can also dive in. We can see the total amount of our direct debit file. We can see the number of transactions. And bear in mind, this is a demonstration environment, so the numbers are low, but FinDock can handle anything from these 3 up to 2 million transactions in one single go without any issue. So all I would now need to do as an employee is essentially download this file, bring it to the bank, and then hit the file accepted button. Since I can't log into the bank right now, I can't click that button, but that is something I can note on my calendar to do a little bit later after I'm done with all of my morning checks. Going back to my dashboard then, one thing that I do need to pay attention to is my unmatched bank transactions. So FinDock gives you the ability to pull your bank data directly into Salesforce, allowing you to get all of your money movements as records in Salesforce, and allows you to do the matching and reconciliation right there in the heart of your business logic. So going to my transaction set, which represents my bank statement for the day, we can see that we have a number of transactions that have already automatically been processed by the system, and there's a couple that I need to take a look at as an employee. So let's start off with this first one. And there we go. And what I can see right away is that if I look at our guided matching progress, which gives me insight into what is going on and how the system processed this transaction, is that we could actually find a member ID. So based on pattern recognition, FinDock can extract data from transactions and from references that the customer or member put in, and we can use that to then find relevant data in Salesforce. In this case, we could use it to find our member, Sarah. And once we have identified the right member, the system can very easily get a list of open invoices for that member, and match against that invoice. Now, in this case, I've set the system to be manually confirmed, so we can make this as automated as we want, or we can put in checks and balances at every step to make sure that if I want to be in the driver's seat, I can be. But in this case, I'm pretty happy with the suggestion the system is doing. So all I need to do is hit save and continue, and it will automatically close that installment, closing the invoice, creating the payment record, and processing all of that. And I see that I misconfigured my payment record, but I'll take a look at that later. Then we have a secondary transaction that I need to take a look at. And in this case, it's a bit more of a difficult one. So we have invoice references. So this person apparently was a little bit behind on their membership payments, and they decided to pay for 3 invoices in one go. Well, for us, that's not really a problem because we have all of that data right here. And again, based on pattern recognition, we can extract that invoice data from the description, even though there's weird capitalization going on and there's text before it and there's an and in there, which might confuse other systems for what is a invoice reference and what isn't an invoice reference. Based on the extracted data, we were able to find the relevant installments that belong to these invoices, and the system is going to allocate the money accordingly. In our case, we've configured the system to go from oldest invoice to newest invoice, but that is a choice. You can switch the order around or order by any other field on your invoice, essentially. The reason that this one is failing to automatically match is because the final amount doesn't add up. So here we were expecting £52, but we only got £25. So apparently our member, J Bishop, made a mistake in adding up the totals and switched 2 numbers. Not really a big issue because I can still just hit save and continue. And what we will see is that the system automatically closed the first 2 installments, but then left the final one on partially paid. I can open up that record. I can see what's going on, and I can either take a payment over the phone. So I could call Mr. Bishop and say, hey, thank you for your payment. Or like I did in this case, I've sent him an email automatically through the system, triggered by the fact that a partial payment was received. We can follow up with SMS or with email or with any other kind of communication channel and include something like a payment link. This payment link allows Mr. Bishop to make that payment right away using their credit card, using instant bank pay or PayPal or any other online payment method that we would like to offer. So hitting the button, my payment transaction in this case will be processed through Stripe. And one of the nice things about Stripe is that it offers me Google Pay and Apple Pay integration right out of the box. So I don't even need to remember my credit card number. All I need to do is just hit the pay button. That takes me to a payment accepted page. And what's more important is that we can now have a follow-up again, because that data lands in Salesforce in real time. So I just refreshed the payments related list here, and you can see that we now have a credit card payment for £27. And my status has been updated to collected. So in this way, even though Mr. Bishop underpaid us by £27, the system was able to automatically reconcile that inbound payment through a FinDock pay link to the right invoice and the right installment. And now, once I refresh the page, we can see that everything is paid. So going back to my dashboard again, we also sometimes have to deal with payments that fail outright. So for instance, reversed direct debits. In this case, we have a direct debit that came in, but it was unfortunately reversed with an error code 0 referred to payer. The same principle as for the partial payment applies here as well. Based on what we know about the member, based on the reason code that we got, we can determine the right follow-up action. After all, if this was a new member, we might just send an email. But if it's a long-standing member, maybe somebody that has been a member for the past 25 years, and this might be the first or second time in 25 years that it failed, and maybe we adopt a different strategy and reach out to them in a more personalized manner. In this case, we just send an email and with a similar payment link in there, which works the exact same way as before. So all of this feeds back into your Salesforce instance in real time and updates memberships and membership invoices in real time, which means that when we update our dashboard, we can see that our overdue amount actually went down because now we matched some payments, and all of that happens constantly. So no need to import data from external systems, no need to run external tools to get the consolidated overview that you need. Everything is visible right here in one place, fully connected with your member profiles, and you're able to fully personalize that entire payment approach from start to finish. Finian, I'm handing it back to you, I think.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, that's really helpful. I think, Peter, the other thing to note that I think when we speak to our payment specialists in Bluewave, one of the pieces that really sets FinDock apart is some of that stuff you've gone through, particularly about the reconciliation and the matching of payments, dealing with their issues, maybe error codes from the bank. That's all pre-built functionality in FinDock, where we typically find if we use maybe other payment management solutions, there's a lot of build required to get that functionality. So for me, really, it's probably more a comment than a question that that pre-built functionality that you bring cuts a huge amount of manual work for a FinOps person in an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. We have found that in general, just on the bank statement reconciliation piece, many of our customers experience a 70% reduction in time spent on this process, allowing them to be way more effective, even though even if volumes increase, they are able to keep up with everything because it's much more automated. And in the end, because it's automated, there's less errors, because wherever people work, people make mistakes, right? And correcting those mistakes is often very time consuming. So having the ability of doing it automated and consistently in the same way every single time really helps a lot.
And then the other feature that tends to be used quite a lot, I know we haven't got time to cover everything today in terms of the FinDock feature set, but your giving pages as well is something we would see used a hell of a lot, which essentially they're a hosted page where you can put a payment form on, spin that up pretty easily with a drag and drop editor. So for different fundraising campaigns, for different membership drives, etc., you know, it's easy to put a hosted page up, put your form on it and relate that to a campaign, push out and take your payments in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so today we saw the pay links, right, which is for existing invoices, but FinDock also has out-of-the-box giving page functionality, which, yeah, you can get a giving page up and running in 5 minutes if you want to, provided you have the text, because writing the text usually takes the most time, but exactly. Setting up and configuration and launching is literally a question of minutes. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Just to throw open to anybody, if you have any questions, we'd be delighted to take them. Please drop them into the questions tab on GoToWebinar. We did get one question in. I just wanted to address it, and it's around data migration. So if you're migrating, let's say from an existing membership platform to Salesforce, why wouldn't you bring your payment data in? Why wouldn't you bring some of the course information in and integrate it as opposed to using Data Cloud? So what we tend to find, particularly when we have customers migrating from a legacy system or potentially a burning platform, is that a huge amount of historical data has often built up, particularly relating to payment records, where you may have you will have multiple upon multiple records of payments, installments, etc., going back many years. We don't recommend you bring all of your data into Salesforce, particularly that transactional type of data. So a perfect scenario that Cosmin touched on earlier is take all of the historical data that you don't need, put it into something like an S3 bucket, and then just show a view of it through Data Cloud and Salesforce. So it really reduces your time in terms of implementing the platform, because you will get the visibility of the data, for example, for an internal agent managing a case or a query, where they don't need to interact with the data, they just need to be able to see it to help with the query. So that will cover that. Anything else there? And then in terms of training, yeah, okay, use of FinDock and training on FinDock. Peter, Dan, how does FinDock support users in terms of training? Actually, is that something you could take for us?
Okay, so there's two ways that we support our end customers with this. One is, first of all, through our partners, right? So we like to enable our partners with instructor-led training and all kinds of online training, because when we get brought in, we are responsible for a smaller part of the implementation and of the project, right? We do the payments, but the entire membership journey is way larger than that, way larger than FinDock. So we always like to go hand in hand with our partners. At the same time, we do provide our online academy environment for our end customers, so they can actually see how things are being set up, but also how to operate certain functions in FinDock, like processing bank transactions. We have our documentation, which is fully open, so anybody can just go there and see how things work. And we have an amazing CSG team, and our CSG team really understands the ins and outs of payments, but also of the membership as an industry. So they can really relate to what you're trying to achieve and what you might run into. And they are more than happy to either help you out on a one-on-one call or to organize a training specifically for you, as I said, hand in hand with the partner, to ensure that it fits into your environment essentially and specific implementation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Peter. And I know as the partner, we take responsibility for implementing the solution, but we would say that the support both for our team, but also for the end user from FinDock is excellent. So I think it's a tool that people like using, particularly that it's native in Salesforce and you're not going to separate platforms to handle it. So yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's it then for today. We've a minute left, so the timing wasn't bad. And as I say, we will share the recording with anybody that's registered. Please reach out to myself or Dan if you'd like to have a conversation around how we can support your organization. We'd be delighted to talk to you. So we'll leave it there for today. So thank you very much.